Good afternoon and welcome to another video. You join me under the massive yew tree here, which I nearly always pass en route to camp. It's one of my little way markers in the woods. This weekend I've got the Night Cat hammock out for a bit of a wild camp test. It's not mine, it's only been lent to me. And just to say in the outset, I believe there's two versions of this. I have seen a video where there's one that's got like a 2-layer bottom where you can actually put a sleep mat inside for insulation. This, as far as I'm aware, doesn't have that, so I'm assuming this is like a Mark 1. So any comments that I make on this video about the setup, etc., is in relation to the version I have, or at least the one I've been lent. Okay, I'll see you at camp. Right, now you can see a classic example of my concerns. I've done the straps roughly the height I would do normally. I'm in a gap that I've used before. Hung the hammock, and even though it's hung fairly tight, look here. To get rid of this slack, the hammock's got to be so tight. If I grab this end, like that. Now to get it like that, I'm going to, there isn't enough loops on the straps. I'm going to have to bring the straps down the tree and have the straps at this sort of height and have it out bomb bloody tight. And then I've got a feeling, if I do that, I'll be then too low, and as I tried out the other day, my arse will be on the floor. What's this all about? The alternative is, of course, I've brought my big tarp with me, purely because we do have rain, and the other drawback of this is, where's my bag, where's my chair, the rest of my kit going to go? I brought my big tarp, so I've got somewhere under cover to put the rest of my kit. I might just leave this off. I think I've found out all I need to know about this top cover already. Sure, it looks pretty, but look how bloody tight it's going to be. And although I haven't tried the theory, my next question would be these zips. Now, we've all been in the scenario when you get in at night to reach the zips of your bug net. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to zip them shut. Most people, like myself, put lengths of paracord on them, so you've got like a longer pull on them. Well, this sits out a good 6 inches further than the edge of the hammock, and you're not drawing a zip to yourself if you're laying in it. These zips are vertical, so you've got a zip like this, especially the one the foot end. I'm not even going to try it. I don't see that working. It's not like me to be defeatist over stuff. I like to make it work. But this, I just don't get it. What a faff. Looks pretty like that. But with the space available, it's just not practical for me to do it. Ordinary hammock, I'd have it up in 5 minutes. I might have a bit more of a play with it, but I think this is coming off. I'm sleeping in inner with my proper tarp over the top. Not a good start. Well, I do fit in it, sort of. Needs to be another metre longer, really, for me. If I've got my head right by this hoop, if I put my feet right by that hoop, the widest points, unless I really twist it like that, can't really get flat. And that's sort of holding it down artificially. If I relax, I've got my feet up, I can feel the weight on the back of my heel. Plenty wide enough. I do generally sleep on my side. Have a move round. And a little bit curled up. Get out of the way, net. That's the other thing they could have done with a roll up and peg out the way type thing for the net. Yeah, it's wide enough for me to sleep on my side. I am going to be able to sleep in it. How comfortable, we won't know till the morning. Or maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, who knows. But it's just a lot of faffing about. This bit's okay. This goes together all right. It could have done with some sort of tensioning here. But I suppose that's what its sort of canopy over the top does normally. That just doesn't work for me. And it's the bulk, the size of the packet, and the total weight really. My hammock that's a lot bigger than this, plus this tarp, huge tarp, is the same weight with none of the disadvantages. Now I've got this up, my chair will go under here at night. I normally take my jacket off, my boots off, put them on the chair so they're not on the floor. We don't get creepy crawlies and whatever in them, so it's up out of the way. Sometimes things I need in the night, like a head torch, that sort of thing. If there isn't a convenient pocket, I'll have it just on the chair so I can just reach out and grab it. If all I had was the little cover, where do I store stuff? Because all you've got is the 2 little pockets. And as much as these seem convenient, I know in my DD hammock there's 4 of these, and yeah, it's great. But depending on how you're laying in it, sometimes it tensions up the fabric so much you can't get the stuff out of the pocket, or you turn over in the night and you end up with a hard lump next to your head. So I don't tend to use the pockets a lot unless it's something flat, like, you know, my wallet in there or something like that. We'll see. At this point, quite disappointed. I'm camping with Marky today, and I said to Mark earlier on, whenever I come out on a camp, generally speaking, I'm obviously looking forward to it, and if I'm bringing a new piece of kit, I'm quite excited. Something new to try, great. And although I've only been lent this, I was still quite excited. It's like, oh yeah, something new to play with. After I put it up the other day, which is on the previous video to this, if you haven't seen, I'll stick a link thing. As soon as I put it up, I started to see things that didn't quite sort of gel with me. And coming here today, it was in the back of my mind. And I'm thinking, am I really going to get on with this? And it hasn't disappointed in that respect. It's not one for me. We'll see how the hammock itself goes, but as for the cover over the top, I don't get it. Just don't get it. Restricts the space you've got. You've got nowhere dry for the rest of your gear. Let's face it, no one goes out, just carry this. You can have a backpack at the very least. If it's raining, you've got somewhere dry to put that. I suppose you could say put it underneath the hammock. Well, that's fine if the rain's coming straight down. This will protect it a little bit. But we all know, 9 times out of 10, you get wind and rain together, it's going to blow sideways. Stuff underneath is going to get damp. You can't beat having a proper tarp. full marks from trying something different, but certainly as far as the cover over the top goes, it's a no from me. Right, setup's done as far as I can tell for the time being. I've got my tarp set up nice and high for working and filming. Obviously I'll be dropping that edge down overnight for water runoff. So I've got the bare bones of the nightcat, just the actual hammock itself. Although we are still technically in summer, they wouldn't believe it, looking at the weather just lately. I've gone with the Army medium weight bag, purely because I haven't got an underquilt that sort of would fit this any sense. So a thicker bag will hopefully make up for the lack of underquilt. Has got a little hanging doodah in there, so I've got my little light hanging up. But you see, this is the point I'm making. It's my chair, my big rucksack that I brought all my camping gear, filming gear and everything else bloody in. Yes, okay, it's a bit of a monster, but you know, you've always got a reasonable bag. If I didn't have this tarp and it was raining, that'd all have to go in there with me to stay dry. How's that going to work? Well, quite simply, it's not, is it? So, I think a tarp over is a much more sensible idea. I mean, look at the amount of coverage I've got there. Huge. Keep everything nice and dry. If it's wet in the morning, I can make a brew under there in the dry. You just can't do that with just the hammock with that enclosed top. It would not work. As you can see, Marky's gone full vintage this weekend. Got his old vintage tent out, the old original sort of style gas stove, and even lugged it in an old vintage bag. You gotta love the old vintage stuff. It's got real character. Well, it's time for bed. I mean, it's definitely on the snug side. I say once I actually go to sleep, it won't be a problem because I will get on my side and curl up a bit. But just laying here flat, I mean, my toes are pretty close to the gathered end, and you know I can reach the other, so it's not all that long. Feels comfortable enough when you're first in, but don't they all? We won't know more until you spent some considerable hours in it. So hopefully this is the last you'll see of me until the morning, when I would have had a wonderful sleep, he says. Here's hoping. I'll see you later. Good morning. It is, what are we? Coming up for 8 o'clock. I slept okay. What's my conclusions on the nightcat? As a hammock, it's okay. It worked for me. I slept all right. That's not saying much because I will sleep just about anywhere. I still maintain it needs to be longer because no matter how I got in it, I couldn't get flat in it. If I'm laying sort of towards the middle or even diagonal, my head is up, my feet are up. It basically just needs more fabric. It needs to be about 1 metre longer for me personally. Sleeping overnight, as I said, I sleep on my side. I tend to curl up a bit, so the length wasn't an issue. So I did sleep okay. Of course, I didn't have the top on. I had my own tarp over the top. And that's where I think it's failing is, or at least for me anyway. I understand what they were trying with the cover, but my thoughts are, if it turns wet, where's the rest of your gear going to go? Where's your boots? Where's your bag? You don't want it in there with you. Underneath isn't really suitable. I just don't really see the point, quite simply. And using it as a bivvy, it's so small, you might as well have a Dutch hooped bivvy or just an ordinary bivvy bag, to be honest. It's just not big enough. For the pack size, the weight of the total kit, you could take a small one-band tent and it would be more practical. For hammock camping, you can get a reasonable, sort of low end, but still reasonable hammock and a tarp for the same money, same pack size, and give you all this versatility, all this room, dry space. Now, if you went out and it just turned into a really, really wet day, you wouldn't want to spend hours upon hours upon hours during the daytime laying in there. What can you do? You can't really achieve anything. At least with a proper tarp, you can still sit under there, you can read, you can cook, you can make a drink. It's not one for me. I know there's quite a few videos on YouTube where people are singing its praises, and it might suit them. It certainly doesn't suit me or the style of camping that I do. The other point I would make is on a lot of these videos that you see, their opening statement is, "I've been sent this by Nightcat." Well, anybody that wants to build a relationship with a manufacturer is not going to sort of diss it on the first video, are they? That's just my personal view. But this wasn't sent to me by Nightcat, wasn't even purchased with my own money, belongs to a friend of mine. He's lent it to me for this test, so I'm free to say exactly what I think. And that's basically my thoughts. I'm not sure how they're priced at the moment. I know they were just over £100 when they first came out. I think now they're around the £80 mark. Well, for that money you could get a good mid-range hammock and a half decent tarp. Or if you went to one of the cheaper hammocks, which work quite well, I've got a couple of really cheap ones, for that same £100-ish budget, you could get a decent tarp, a cheaper hammock, and even get an under blanket as well. That's my thinking. And at least once you've purchased them items, you can use the tarp for so many other things if you want to bivvy, camp, play shelter, whatever. This, to my mind, is just too much for one trick pony. Thanks for watching.